Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. A few weeks ago, I did a poll on Patreon because number 6 was ending, and I had put up a list of shows that had placed second place in the poll, and I polled all of my fellow patrons to see which show they wanted me to react to after number 6 was over. And here's the results. Y'all love tying. So it was tied between Stars Align and Yona of the Dawn, and so I flipped a coin. And I said heads was Stars Aligned, tails was Yona, and heads won. And then I did an online coin flip, and Stars Aligned won again. And then I did a second online coin flip, and Stars Aligned won again. And so then I went back to the polls and saw that Stars Aligned had placed second twice, and Yona had just placed second once in the polls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch Stars Aligned first, and then as soon as I'm done with Stars Align, I'm going to watch Yona of the Dawn. So, Yona fans, you will get to see me react to it. It'll just be after I'm done with Stars Align. So, this 12-episode series has been requested and recommended for months. Since way back nearly a year ago on the channel when I was... Well, on my old channel, people were like, you need to watch Stars Align. And it honestly almost won the poll originally that was going to replace Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Instead, Run with the Wind and Free tied at the very last minute. So I nearly watched this show. I've had the thumbnail made for like 6 months, being like, I'll just keep it around and maybe I'll get back to it. And here we are. So the only thing I know about this show is that it is 12 episodes and it was originally supposed to be 24. And I was told months ago that the creator somehow was not able to finish, and so they cut down 24 episodes to 12, and I've heard it like ends on kind of a weird note, and it ends kind of on a cliffhanger because they weren't able to finish, which is really sad. That's really sad. So we just got done watching number 6, which kind of ended in the same vein, so we're just keeping the trend going. But I at least know that going into this series, so I don't think I'll be so shell-shocked when I get to episode 12 and I'm like, why did it just end? I won't feel so shell-shocked because I'll already have known that that's the circumstance surrounding the show. But y'all have recommended this show a lot, and so I'm really excited to watch it. I just have no clue other than I think it's about tennis. I think in the thumbnail they had a tennis racket, but that's all I know. But it's a sports anime, and it's 12 episodes, and I've heard it's really good. Those are the 3 details I know about this show going in, and y'all say it's recommended, so we shall see. But in any case, I'm excited to start a new show, to get into another sports anime. I'm watching Ace of the Diamond right now, so let's do another one on top of it, right? But with that being said, we are going to start Stars Align episode 1 here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, that's like, it's been a while since I've watched a first episode that gave me emotional whiplash like that one did, because that just set up the entire tone of this series, and I'm in. I don't know what I'm in for, but I am in, because oh my god, the darkness of that last 2 minutes was, these hopeful ED plays, and then suddenly it's like, oh, a mid-credit scene, cool. So yeah, this whole episode has already felt so much different than any other sports anime I've watched, just in terms of tone. And it's just it's little things. It's tiny little nuanced things. Because I've watched, you have your stereotypical sports shonen. So like Slam Dunk, Ace of the Diamond. Those are all following very traditional shonen-y sports tropes from what I've seen so far. I'm not totally into Ace of the Diamond yet, but it's similar to Slam Dunk. So I get that same tone, that same vibe. And then you have shows like Free and Haikyuu that deal with these, big emotional moments, but it's all like the Nakama, the friendship. It's like fighting for nationals, like la da da. And it all has that big happy-go-lucky feeling to it. And then you have Run with the Wind, and Run with the Wind is a little bit more like Shonen Ai. It's a little bit more mature, and there's more mature. And this Stars Align seems more kind of like on the same wavelength as Run with the Wind in terms of tone, but holy shit, that just got dark. Like really in the last, like in a blink of an eye. Because for a second I was like, man, this is just funny. Isn't that fun? And then just it turns on a dime. You're like, oh. And so I want to go back through this and kind of, that took my breath away. Because Maki, just meeting Maki, like he's such this like aloof dreamer character that's like, he reminds me of, I have a friend, and my friend is so into astrology. Like he's huge into astrology. He'll send me my astrology readings for the month. He'll text them to me, and he'll send me like all this stuff about the stars and the planets and everything. And I'm like, oh cool. And like Mercury's in retrograde and like all this. And he's so obsessed with it, and I love it. I love how obsessed he is with it. And Maki reminds me a lot of him because he's got the astrological calendar. But there's like little tiny details below the surface of this immediately that I didn't even think about until after this last scene. As it was ending, I was like, we need to go back, because I think stuff like little nuanced things leading up to this, like, oh my God, this already... Like, I am so intrigued and invested in Maki's character. So, we established right off the bat, I like that this story does little tiny subtle things to let you know kind of the situation of the character without just outright saying it. And even though is some exposition there towards the end, it's kind of just done just to streamline. But I like that we won't get little white chocolates at this place. I can't earn pocket change then. So right off the bat, Maki's talking about earning pocket change. Maki's trying to earn money. So, and him and his mom. And he looks like his mom, thankfully, a lot too. So she is working for a small architectural firm. And that makes a lot of sense because it's like they move around a lot. So her job makes her move wherever the architectural sites are. They move kind of with that. So that makes sense why he's just now coming back to the Kanto region, to this area. And she's just divorced her husband, so that's another reason why they've moved back. And I like that the boxes that they have are all like just random boxes. And the way she says the last place we had didn't have an elevator, that leads me to believe that she didn't have a lot of money, so they couldn't afford a place with an elevator. And now that she's in this architectural job, then she's got a little bit more cash to burn there. But he does all the things for her. He like cooks the food, he cleans, he does the laundry. He's trying to help her so she can earn money and so that they can be happy. And so I'm instantly attracted to Maki as a character. Like he's so, even though he's mysterious and kind of aloof, he's so driven and positive and kind that really is interesting. So the other thing, this girl, it's Matsui or Mitsui, I'll say her name in a minute. She looking forlorningly out the window at the girls' tennis team. I wonder if she like tried out for the tennis team and just didn't make it, and that's why she's kind of like a negative character, but she's kind of like just like apathetic. And then she instantly kind of becomes friends with Maki because they live in the same apartment complex. And she says they'll totally get crushed and bruised. Like she tried out for the team and couldn't make the cut, and so she quit. Interesting. And of course, the boys' team sucks. So I like this dynamic that this team is setting up. One, they're all second years. All the third years are gone, and none of the first years wanted to try out for the team because they knew they sucked. But two, Toma is super dedicated to the soft tennis club because his older brother was really dedicated to it. And I really like their conversation, and I want to get back to that. But yeah, he seems to be the only one that's really dedicated, and the other guys are just kind of like goofing off and slacking off. And I like that the girls' tennis coach is upset because she's like, you guys aren't taking this seriously. Like, what's the point of us practicing against you if you're not going to be a challenge? And clearly their coach is not very good either because he's just like, it's fine. And she's like, So I wonder if he was the coach when they were really good and won nationals, when Ryoma was on the team, or if he's a new coach and he just doesn't care. I'm really curious about that. But I like that we have kind of the opposite of Haikyuu, where the girls' tennis team is the one going to nationals and doing really good, and these guys are just, they're like the underdog of underdogs. They don't even care at this point. They're not even trying. Shinjo is like the only one that is trying. And there's Shingo, so I'm going to have to call him Toma, because there's Shingo, and Shingo is like our negative Nancy. He's just like, I don't see the point in trying, and I'll just quit. And it's like, dude, get with it. And so... then we have this student council president that, man, we ain't having no socialist club funds here. We're not spreading the wealth around. We're doing this on a it's a capitalist system here. I'm like, girl, she reminds me of I've read a little bit of the Silver Spoon manga, and it's been a long time since I've read it. I read it years ago, but she reminds me of the one daughter, that the heavier set daughter, that she can become skinny. That's the only thing I remember. She can become skinny, but she reminds me kind of her. Like, she was all business savvy, and that's kind of how this student council president is. She's like, we need results. And that reminded me a lot of Free, because in the very early part of Free, in like season 1, they talked about how they needed to do well at swim meets in order to get the clubs to get funded. And they bring up a good point here. If you don't produce the results, you're not going to get, funded in the money. And that kind of relates back to Maki in a way too, in kind of society in general. Like, Maki's trying to keep his mom, a head above water, like making her breakfast, getting the chores and stuff done, like working ahead, because he's like, if you're in a good environment, you're going to work better, and that's going to produce better results. So, interesting. But Shinjo is like, and Takuto seems like Takuto wants to be popular, and I love that Takuto's like, I'm going to go join the other tennis team, become popular with the ladies, and he like trips over the gate, and they're like, he's going to get dumped. Like, no. So Takuto likes Nanase, the pretty girl, and I like that Shinjo's like, there's no way in hell she's gonna date you. Takuto's like, you don't know, and he just runs away like all tsundere. It's so good. I love that. I'm gonna quit this club and become a stud. Like, and then he trips over the gate. Like, amazing. And then like, go get dumped. Shinjo. We're gonna talk about Shinjo. Interesting. So yeah, they've decided they're going to allocate the funds based on how the teams do. And they haven't won a game in 4 years. So the older brother is at least 3 or 4 years older than Toma. Ryoma is at least 3 or 4 years older, because he took their team to nationals. And since he graduated, they haven't won a game. Or at least they haven't won a game in 4 years. He may have graduated, or he may be older than that, actually. And we'll talk about Ryoma. There's an interesting family dynamic here going on. But yeah, man. So I like that they talk about the clubs that aren't good enough don't get the funding from the school or the PTA, and they're establishing like kind of the system in place. And Shinjo is super dedicated to like keeping this club going and being like, we just need to find better players and all this. So I love getting in this one scene with Maki where he runs down and gets the trash out and goes and back up to make the eggs and times himself. Like, it establishes so much about his character. And it's funny because he seems so aloof when he's walking home. Like, he has the astrological calendar and he seems so like off in his own thoughts and absent-minded and aloof. But when he's at home, it's go, 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 do this, do that, do that. And that's a really cool parallel to show that like the only time he gets to rest and totally relax is walking home. Like, that's just how it is. He doesn't get to relax or do anything until he walks home. So that makes me a little concerned, because if he joins this tennis team and he's doing practices after school, then is he just going to be exhausted? And will Toma have to end up helping him? Because that's just But I love the instant contrast. We have this little condensed apartment that Maki and his mother live in, and everything's just like kind of cluttered, but it's still neat, but it's cluttered, and he's just doing things left and right. And his mom is there, and he's like helping her get ready, and he's like having this conversation with her, and you can instantly tell him and his mother have this really wonderful relationship. And then you hard cut to Toma's home. This beautiful house, the Shinjo house, this beautiful house, and the father apparently works away. And it's just him alone at the kitchen, like by himself. No one else is there. And it's such a cool contrast. It speaks so much. Like, he just has his eggs and stuff, and then his brother shows up, and he's like, oh, give this book to Maki. And he's like, Maki? So clearly the brother knows that he's moved back. Interesting. And I like that this girl and him run into each other, and she's kind of absent-minded, and she has Kaneko Mitsu. Kaneko, so I'm going to have to remember Kaneko. Kaneko sounds better. So Kaneko and Maki, Katsuragi. And yeah, so Kaneko and him, and she's like, why don't you use the elevator? And he's like, because it's a pain to wait. because he's got things to do. She's like, well, isn't it more of a pain to run? So, yeah, I love that. I love it. So they're in Class 2C, Class 2D, and I like that he doesn't have his school uniform ready yet. He's in his old school uniform, like his junior high one, or his one that he had last year from wherever he was at. So, interesting. And they clearly know each other from, like, yeah, it shows them together. So they know each other from grade school. It looks like when they were in grade school, they know each other. And then, yeah, I'm back home again. I love that. I'm back home again, and Shinjo just isn't really having a response to that. So it's clear that Shinjo and him, something's happened in their past. Something's happened in the past, because Shinjo, he's very hesitant to say he's a friend. He's like, but Maki seems to be totally cool with the fact that Toma's talking to him. He's like, oh, I'm back home. Cool. So I'm very curious to know what's up with that. I also like that everybody's like, oh, is he a friend of yours? And he's like, And clearly, Maki respects Ryoma. Like, Maki looks up to Ryoma, because that kind of almost convinces him to do it when he says that Ryoma says that him joining the team is going to save them. And he's like, okay, I'll do it if you pay me. And we'll get that. So yeah, the star calendar and everything, I love that he's so obsessed with astrology, and he's looking at the almanac. That's really, really cool. Shinjo's like on a war path. He's like, I've got to find people to do things. I don't know why they have the cat randomly running around the room. That's hilarious to me, that the cat's loose. I just love it. And I love that Maki's not even paying a bit of attention. He's still looking at that book. And the cat bouncing off the dry erase, the chalkboard. That seems unrealistic, that a cat would do a little rebound off the chalkboard. But I once tried to give my parents' cat a bath once. Long story short, the cat like bounced off the walls and like went crazy. And I was like, nope, that can happen. I have seen that happen. Physics be damned. It can happen. But I love that Kaneko, she just, instead of like, oh, there's a cat, she just grabs her phone. Like, I'm not helping these guys. I'm just going to film it instead. And Maki is just like not even paying attention, but he grabs the cat because he has good reflexes. And here's the thing that's kind of disturbing about that is him having good reflexes is not only because he does things around the house, so we've seen he's really coordinated in, I love that she just films him with the cat, and he's really coordinated in doing the eggs and the groceries and all that simultaneously. We've seen that. But when we get to the part about his dad at the end, where his dad physically abuses him, I'm like, part of me is like, does he have those reflexes as like a defense mechanism? That's the scary part. And so this overpass here, and I love that Shinjo's so serious. He's like, join the soft tennis team. I'm gonna get right to the point. And it's like, like you can't see through his glasses. It's like, oh my god, he's so intense and persistent. It's amazing. And Maki's like, I don't want to join your club. He's like, no. He's like, I have no interest. And he's like, come on, do this. And he's like, no, I don't care about soft tennis. And it's clear that the thing that gets me is he sends this friend of his to go spy on Maki and learn things from him. My question is, why didn't Shinjo just go himself? Like, why not? Why didn't he just go by himself? But I guess he had to go home and do other things. Or maybe the friend lives closer to Maki, and so that's why he sent him. But, so we get this conversation with the brother here. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maki just transferred here, so I bet he doesn't have many friends. So it's like trying to get him to join the team. And I like that Shinjo's like, that's not the reason I wanted him to join. It's not because I want to be friends with him. It's because we need him. If we can't win one summer game, we'll be disbanded. And then the brother says, I see. And I like this conversation because it's different than most sports anime. Because Shinjo's like, you're club alumni. When you were there, our team made it all the way to nationals. He's like, and the brother's like, and you're hoping I would say not to let it die? You guys should do what you think is best. And alumni shouldn't have any say in the matter. And Toma's like, is it because you think it's pointless and you know I can't do it? And he's like, well, no. And then Toma just gets mad and goes away. I really think that's an interesting perspective, though, because, usually in sports anime, when you talk to the club alumni, the former third years and stuff, they're like, keep the team going, do no matter what, like, do whatever you have to. Like, they're just all gung-ho about it. But the brother here, Ryoma, is like, the alumni, we're done. Like, we don't have a say in anything. You don't have to keep things going for us. Like, you got to do what you got to do for your team. And that's a really interesting perspective. It's really fresh. You don't normally see that. So I think that's very cool. Now, obviously, Shinjo is, I don't know. The question is, was Ryoma as competitive as Shinjo, or was Ryoma as competitive as Toma was? Or is Toma, the question, if I can articulate myself here, is, was Ryoma as competitive as Toma, or was Ryoma just on a really good team at the time and was good at tennis but didn't have the drive? That's the question, because Toma clearly has the drive. And so Toma goes off to school, and Ryoma's sitting there, and the mom says, how about breakfast? And he says, no thanks, I'm good with just coffee in the morning. So he's clearly not a breakfast person. And she's like, what do you want for dinner tonight? And he says, I'm staying at one of my friends from college. So he's in college. So not today, sorry. And Dad's on a business trip, so I'll be alone with just him. Now the question is, this mom acts really bizarre. And he's like, Mom, Toma isn't. And she's like, that boy is nothing like you. And they look the same, but they're clearly not. And she's like, when I'm around him, what the heck's up with her? That's the question. What's up with her? She says, when I'm around him, and we clearly haven't seen them together in a scene, so something's up. Something's up. And then Kaneko is running. We don't get to see why Kaneko's running. That's interesting. She's running for some reason, but we don't get to see why. Interesting. I thought that it was going to connect to a scene, but we don't get to see that. So that's curious. And yeah, stars align. The boy's obsessed with astrology. And yeah. And then, of course, Toma is like, do this. So the mom has custody after the parents' divorce. We get that. And used to be Maki Kiyobate. And so it took back the mom's name. So the friend has done the snooping for Toma. And so he does everything. I like that he just has the bird goggles and he's just like hanging out in the park. Not that that's creepy or anything. I want to convert this number because I want to convert yen to dollars and see just how much this is. Okay. So 40,000 yen sounds like a lot. In US dollars, it is, which is still a lot for a high school kid. It's basically like $360. $360. Interesting. So Toma basically tells him, he's like, I need you to join. And I like how I'm proud of Maki being not swayed and thinking that he's like, don't patronize me. He's like, because Toma's like, I'll help you out with your chores and shopping and stuff and help you out. And Maki's like, I don't mind your own business. I don't want you to patronize me. And then Toma's like, well, I'll pay for your stuff. Like, I'll pay for your gear and your uniform, like everything. Don't worry about it. And Maki's like, you can tell Maki's kind of insulted a little bit because he's like, even though their family clearly is poor and doesn't have a lot of money right now, and Toma's family clearly is loaded, then he's like, you don't have to buy anything for me. And he's like, no. He's like, and Toma's like, money is not a problem. And then Maki's like, oh, so you can join clubs because money isn't a problem? It's like, don't patronize me. Don't mock me, And then that's when he tells him about Ryoma. And that seems to stop Maki because Maki seems to like Ryoma. And we get this flashback where it clearly shows Ryoma with the long hair. Like, he looks basically the same as he does now. He's just in his high school uniform. And we see he has the tennis racket. And Maki, here's the thing, too, that, like, really makes me sick looking back on this episode again. At the time, I thought, oh, well, Maki just fell down and he hurt himself. And then Ryoma comes along and makes him feel better, and because he's nice, right? And I'm sure that's the case, that Ryoma made him feel better. But after the scene with the dad at the end, yeah, that same mark that's on his cheek at the end is the same mark of him as a kid, and the bandage and everything. Like the dad physically abused him. Like that's what's happened. The dad's physically abused him, and then Maki met Ryoma, and Ryoma made him happy and made him forget about that and was kind. And then yeah, Maki says he had a racket back in middle school. So we can assume that maybe Maki was just in middle school then. And he's like, Ryoma approved of you joining the tennis club. And Maki's like, well, in that case, then pay me money. And it's like, ooh, it's like put your money where your mouth is. If you want me to join, I'm not just doing this for my, kindness out of my heart. If you pay me, I'll join. And think of it as payment for manual labor. I don't join clubs for fun because money is a problem. He's like, well, you said it yourself, Toma. You said, oh, money is no obstacle. He's like, I'm not joining this for fun. And then, of course, Toma, it's like just egging at his pride. It's just mocking him. It's patronizing him right back to his face, which is hilarious. And then, of course, Toma doesn't know what to say. And you can see in this image the backpack sizes. Like Toma has this giant, overly sized backpack, and that looks new and shiny and everything. And Maki has like a clearly used backpack because the straps are worn out. Like the straps are all loose and everything. And that happens when you've used it so many times. Like he's had that backpack for a while. So that's interesting. And he says, quit trying to convince me then if you're not going to do it. And he says 10,000 yen a month, which is basically like $100 a month. I'll pay you. If we win the tournament, I'll add another 100 onto it. And that's what gets Maki's attention. And I'll throw in extra payments if that's not enough. He's like so desperate. He's like, okay, cool, thanks, seals the deal, we're great, wonderful, awesome. And Maki's like, I didn't agree to anything, but he's like, nope, after school, come to the locker room, get your tennis gear, we're good, yay, rah, and I like that he brought extra rackets with him. He's like, here, you get this racket here, we're all good, wonderful. Like his bag has all the extra tennis rackets, like he has 2 tennis rackets in there, and he's like, oh no, he has 3, he has multiples. And he's like, here, you can have this racket. It's good for beginners. Like he came prepared. Toma was not accepting no as an answer. I love that. And then we get this awesome ED music. Like it's so happy and upbeat and kind of like soft. And you're like, oh, cool, nice. And he's like, Toma, I never even agreed to it, but okay. And he just holds the tennis racket. And I like how he like softly, like I like how Maki like softly and gracefully like puts it through the air. And he smiles at it like it's something soft tennis, huh? And he just swooshes it. Like that's so beautiful with the seagulls and everything. And yeah, this nice ED, this happy song, Fish Tank is the song title. It's like really happy. And he's making dinner for his mom. And I honestly, at the beginning of this scene, thought that like maybe the mom was coming home or that it was like Toma forgot something. Toma forgot to give him something, and so he came to meet him at the door. No. And then for a second I was like, is it a burglar? It's worse than that. The fact that someone put the finger up against the peephole so he couldn't see who it was. I would have locked that door and been like, I'm not answering it. No. But he doesn't do it. And this is where I was like, there's a tone shift in here. Like this show is going to be more than just your typical sports anime. Because then the dad shows up. And I love that the dad's all like, everything's in a muted color and it's whitewashed. And Maki's face is heartbreaking. Like he just looks instantly like somebody who's seen the worst possible person imaginable. Like his lip trembling. And this guy, like his shoes are dirty. He walks in, he gets the carpet dirty. He's all disheveled. His eyes look like he's out of it, like maybe he's high or something. And then as that line, as usual, you ain't got much. And then he tries to tell him to get out. Don't talk to your dad like that. And he smacks him. I mean, doesn't just smack him, like, hits him hard. Says it's rude. Give me the usual. And he came to borrow some. Where is it? And he just, oh God, he kicks him in the face. He said she wouldn't go out of her way to hide it, would she? So if anyone hid it, it's you, Maki. God. And this is, oh my God. And he just crawls in the corner and just crawls there and just bunches up, and his mouth is bleeding, and then he finds the money that was taped up. And it's a couple thousand yen that he takes with him. I'll be borrowing this. Oh my gosh. And then he just puts a bandage on his face and goes right back to what he was doing. Like nothing happened. Oh, that was, man, I'm on board with the series, but that ending, and I love that the angle, if you look at the episode, the angle, the walls and everything are kind of curled, so everything is claustrophobic. Like that room is so tiny. And they don't even have like a couch, they just have two chairs. Like going back and looking at that scene, they have a kitchen table. They have a kitchen table and a shelf and a little kitchenette thing and a dining room table. And then the living room, there's a tiny TV, a little coffee table, and two chairs. Like there's nothing else there. In the AC unit. Oh my gosh. So yeah. So that's Stars Align, episode 1. I am totally hooked on this series. And I'm also, I don't know what I've gotten into, but this is already setting a precedent and a tone that it's going to be more mature and deal with some more mature themes than your typical sports anime does. And I'm all here for it, but I'm also like, this show's going to break my heart. Like right off the bat, like my jaw was on the floor this last scene because it's so visceral and relatable and real. Okay, y'all. You've got me in this series. I can't stop now. I'm so curious. Don't spoil me because I want to know what's going to happen. I want to find out as we go. But I'm very curious to know, those of you that have watched this show, what your reaction was to the last 2 minutes of this episode. Because, So yeah, let's do this. I'm so curious where it's going to go to from here. But in any case, I hope you all like this reaction. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you all again next week with episode 2 of Stars Align. Bye.